You know, Mr. Downing, I have a lot of experience in these matters. And over the years, I've developed a theory about private detectives. They're sly, and without exception, they are lazy, stupid, cowardly, arrogant, and thoroughly incompetent.
It's just a theory.
There it is. And make sure the lab has the number here in case they come up with anything.
You can have your lab inspect this note as much as you want, but they may never discover what I already know.
And what is that, Mr. Crumb?
You find that crazy typewriter, and you'll have your kidnappers.
A modern day remake of Matthew Vaughn's Layer Kick, a Coen Brothers stand up with Timothy Chalamet. A Citizen Kane prequel, a Midnight Cowboy sequel, Alvin and the Chipmunks deserving of the squeak. There's so many new ways to revisit sideways, but a graphic novel is how we choose to update. But we still hold fast, you can't change the past on the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
When Bill Garcia opened his California private investigation business in 2006, he didn't realize that only 10 years later, he would be centered to a kidnapping case so perplexing, it would result in multiple documentaries. Hulu's Perfect Wife, The Mysterious Disappearance of Sherry Papini, and Investigation Discovery's Sherry Papini, Caught in the Lie, both feature the aforementioned Sherry Papini, who disappeared while out for a run and was found 3 weeks later, beaten, bruised, and branded. But before she was found, there was much discussion of her whereabouts. Garcia speculated that based on her proximity to California's 5 interstate highway, she could have been trafficked to Mexico or Canada. And though Garcia's interview footage contains many xenophobic rhetoric about Mexicans, there was little else to go by at the time, but Garcia's tune may have changed had he known that Sherry Papini pulled a Bunny Lebowski and kidnapped herself, faking the entire ordeal to be with an ex-boyfriend in Costa Mesa. In April 2022, Papini pled guilty to making false statements to law enforcement and 1 count of mail fraud. Her sentence, 18 months in prison and 36 months supervised release. Our sentence, who's Harry Crumb? Greetings, Starfighters. This is Ruined Childhoods, and on this episode we're talking about the 1989 comedy Who's Harry Crumb?, the story of a high-profile kidnapping and the private investigator hired to botch the case. Dan, have you ever had any experiences with a private investigator?
Not that I can recall, no.
I feel like you would be able to recall if you had one.
Right.
It feels like a very specific thing.
Right, yeah, I'm really, I'm kind of, but, because sometimes there are things that there at this point. So, all right, I'm 48 years old. I've got a lot in the memory banks. So there are days where all of a sudden I will randomly remember something like, oh, right. I went here that one time. Or, that's right. I did cause I used to act. So there are plays that I did that sometimes, oh, right. I did that play with, I played this type of character. Oh, right. I totally forgot about that. So, is it, I don't think so, but it's entirely possible at some point. I don't know. I really don't think so though. Have you?
No, I haven't. I feel like the private investigation industry is very fascinating. I'm sure that there's so much that happens for an actual private investigator that's, upsetting. I'm sure that there's a lot of work that they have to deal with that, isn't just, cheating spouses and things like that. But the way that it's portrayed in media, it's a lot of these types of things. And, missing people and things like that, of course, are probably pretty common. But I feel like I'm pretty fascinated by it because it's, it's not law enforcement. It's somebody that you have to go and hire for a particular reason. And I'm very curious about the profession as a whole. And I love that there are movies, there are so many movies that also agree and use that that profession as kind of an anchor.
Oh, definitely. I feel like that profession like probably peaked in like the 40s. Or at least in the movies, in the movie industry, it feels like that was like the height. Like how many different, like not just the ones from the movies made at that time, but I think like Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's like late 40s, I think, right?
40s, 30s, maybe. Anyway, yeah.
So anyway, and Jake Gittes is
Jake
from
Gittes,
Chinatown is
Chinatown,
like
which is Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
right? Wow. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
And we've talked about The Long Goodbye, so we certainly have covered that territory a little bit.
Was originally set in, I want to say, the 40s or 50s. Robert Altman, though,
right?
Actually, like really brilliantly, we talked about it, but so brilliant how he brings that into the 70s.
Yeah, I mean the Ray Chandler.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. And then many years later, 2016, whatever it was, with The Nice Guys going back to the 70s with private investigators. Right. So, it's a really fun genre, and it's a fun character to play with, especially when you have ones that, they're doing it because they're not cut out for law enforcement. Maybe they have a problem with authority and they need to just be their own boss or something like that.
Right.
So
I guess
it's pretty interesting.
What leads someone into that line of work, and what is that like? Yeah. What is it like to do that job now?
Right. Well, okay. Dan.
Oh, what do you know?
Ask me the question that I told you to ask me before we started recording.
What were you, I guess when we logged on, is this about kind of like your, like what you were doing when I logged on?
Yes.
And what was going on there?
I was reading 1-star reviews on Google for private investigators near me. And
the best answer to that question right there. I could not have hoped for better.
So, the one that I happened to be reading at that time. I'm not going to read.
Hold on. Can I ask you a question before you do this? Is there a higher rating? Are there private investigators in your area that are higher rated?
I will say that most private investigation services have very high ratings in the 5 stars. Not like they have a ton of reviews, but I was particularly looking out for the ones that had 1-star reviews.
Okay,
I love looking up 1-star reviews for different businesses. Anyway,
let's go.
So this one, I'm not going to read it because there's names in it and everything, but there was some sort of issue. The person was uncomfortable with their private investigator, and so they recorded phone calls and text messages. It says, long story short, after he sent me up to miss a court date and I lost by default and now currently working for my father and going out of his way to ruin my life, I have video of him inside my home disabling cameras and removing my property. Not only did he disable the cameras, but he cut the ends off the cords so they couldn't be hooked up by destroying my property as he removed it from my home. It goes on. And then the company responded by saying, this is yet another review by you that is false and misleading. If you would stop using drugs and stealing things, your life would turn around. You need to take responsibility for your bad life choices. And I've never seen a company respond to a bad Google review with anything like that. And honestly, respect.
Wow. Wow. And here I am listening to her review.
So that's my face was what you saw when I was reading that in that moment.
Oh my God. I'm thinking, I'm like, what did he do to earn the star? I guess the response, I mean, is it 5 stars for the response there?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow.
But yeah, so
that's terrific.
You were asking how does one fall into this line of work? And I guess in some cases it's, the family business, as is the case with Harry Crumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Born into a line.
Do you remember being a 12-year-old and Who's Harry Crumb coming out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember coming out. I don't think I saw it in the theater. I I don't. It's possible I did, but I don't remember. I feel like I remember either like renting that one or seeing it on HBO. Probably rented it.
Well, I feel like this must have been on HBO because
I had a taped
I feel like
copy
we watched
from
it.
HBO.
You had a taped copy from HBO.
Yeah.
Okay, because it played a lot in our household growing up.
Yeah.
And I've definitely seen it a number of times. Should I have? Probably not.
No, I was the target audience for this movie.
Yeah.
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 So, like,
I mean, this is also, it's like, geez, to say peak John Candy is tough because all John Candy is peak John Candy.
oh, no, this is not. In fact, I was thinking
But
about
this
it. We've talked about John Candy before.
Yeah.
Several times, but no, like peak. So, all right. So peak John Candy, it maybe this time period, because also this is this is 6 months before Uncle Buck.
Right, but also he's starring in movies. Like he
Right.
is the name above the title.
Oh, you know what though? Would you 87? Because 87, and I know in that regard he's not, because he's got the co-starring, but he's got Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Spaceballs in 87.
Spaceballs, right?
Wow.
So also, I mean, movies that we've covered on here: Summer Rental.
Mm-hmm.
What year was Summer Rental?
85.
85. Yeah, so that's already 4 years before this. The Great Outdoors.
Great Outdoors, 88.
Yeah,
We've
88. So like
we've we've done a few. Nothing But Trouble is 91.
Nothing But Trouble. 91. Mm-hmm.
What else? Like I was looking at. Didn't we do Uncle Buck?
We did do Uncle Buck. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you already mentioned Uncle
Right.
Buck. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, there's never been a time during his career where he hasn't been just like the star of the show.
I mean, even his
He's
role
so
in the Blues Brothers is,
Mhm.
really it's one of the bigger roles in that movie outside of the Blues Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean, Vacation also.
Vacation,
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Stripes,
Stripes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then you have Summer Rental, Splash, Volunteers, and Splash, both in
Tom
84,
Hanks. Mhm.
both with Tom Hanks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, man, and it's just some great pairings, and like the John Candy, John Hughes pairing. Only the Lonely. I haven't seen
Only the
that
Lonely.
in a long time, but
Yeah.
I remember that being just so. The roles were just so great for him because they showed so much of so much personality and so much nuance.
Yeah.
Del Griffith in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, and also Who's Harry Crumb? I think I associated a lot with Delirious.
Mhm.
What year was Delirious? I ask you
91.
because you always know the years.
Same
That's
year.
91.
Yeah, it was 91 because it was this.
Yeah.
It was the same year. Oh, as Only the Lonely. Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, Delirious and Who's Harry Crumb I associate with one another. Maybe I just saw them both at around the same time. Ad nauseum on repeat.
Interesting. I've actually
he
never
just-
seen all of Delirious.
Really?
Yeah, I started watching it recently, and I mean, I will continue it because I was enjoying it. And I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go on, but I want to come back to that.
Oh yeah, but Delirious, that's the one where he's a writer and he kind of slips into his fantasy world that he's writing. Is that what it is?
He's a soap opera writer, and
Soap opera writer.
I
Yeah.
think he ends up in a coma, and
That's what it is.
Is that what it is? And he's like,
I'm asking.
he wakes up in the soap opera, and he's now a character, and he's romancing the actress that he has a crush on in the soap opera.
Yeah, it's kind of like a precursor to like Ruby Sparks. You ever see Ruby Sparks?
I've not seen Ruby Sparks.
It's this writer, and the character that he's written just like appears one day, and
Okay.
as he's writing, her personality develops, and those things become true to her, but she doesn't know that she's a character that he's made up. It's very fascinating. Zoe Kazan, Paul Dano.
Yeah. No, I remembered who, I didn't know what it was about, but I remembered that it was the two of them. And who directed,
Oh, I don't know.
Is that not, did Greta Gerwig direct that? No. All right.
No.
Anyway.
But Who's Harry Crumb was one that I remembered so vividly from growing up. And it was a real joy to rewatch, despite, the certain things that did not age very well that we'll certainly talk about. But, just kind of a relic of its time. But nevertheless, there were so many times where I laughed out loud. And I feel like it's hard to watch a movie anymore and actually laugh out loud at what's going on. That just doesn't even happen as much anymore. It's hard.
Yeah.
Dan, the one movie that I'm looking forward to seeing, and it's only playing in limited engagements, and it's one that I texted you about because it's going to be playing for like one day in Seattle.
Yeah.
It's Napa Boys. And I feel like that's one where there would be moments where, true laughter could happen.
That looks really funny, but like if I want to say a niche audience, especially, and we're both part of that audience.
We absolutely are. And you know what's funny about it is in our podcast theme song, we say there's so many new ways to revisit Sideways. And that movie is literally about imagining that the movie Sideways had a bunch of straight to DVD sequels like American Pie. And Napa Boys is the fourth in that series. And it is so something that we would come up with on this podcast where we talk about movie legacies and what we would do to extend them. And I love that so much about it, that they actually made it and it's a real movie.
Well, the fact that it's also the fourth in that series, like that's so like, man, I hope one of us would come up with something that brilliant. I mean, because it just takes this wacky idea and it adds that necessary extra step that you didn't know was necessary until it was taken. And then you're like, yes,
amazing. It's amazing.
That is what needs to happen. And I don't know that I'll be able to see it in Seattle, but I will see it.
Yeah, I think it's out on VOD a month from now, so April 20th. We're recording this March 20th. So that said, laughing while sitting alone watching a movie at home, that also did happen when you and I were together watching Young Einstein recently.
Oh, absolutely. And Nuns on the Run as well.
And Nuns on the Run. Nuns on the Run was less of a chuckle fest and more of a Jesus Christ.
Nuns on the Run was, I think that for me, it was more of the nostalgia factor, more like, oh, this is like, I feel like I'm, watching my VHS copy back in my bedroom. But Young Einstein was a lot more like, wow, this is because Young Einstein just swings for the fences.
Another one where you just can't believe that a movie like that got made.
Oh, and you're so grateful for it.
Dan, why don't you do a synopsis so we can really get into
this movie? We'll get to those other movies some other time. Elliot Drazen is the president of Crumb & Crumb, a top-level private investigation agency, and has a dirty little secret. He's kidnapped Jennifer Downing, the daughter of the uber-wealthy PJ Downing. PJ happens to be married to Helen, a longtime acquaintance of Elliot's and the object of his affection. Elliot's plan is to collect a $10 million ransom from PJ and convince Helen to flee the country with him. But Helen has other plans. She and her half-witted, not-so-secret boyfriend need to intercept the money so they can run off together. Tasked with tracking down Jennifer's kidnapper, Elliot brings in Harry Crumb, the overly confident idiot grandson of the agency's founder, who has been exiled to a tiny branch of the business in Oklahoma. Harry, along with Jennifer's younger sister, Nikki, uses every trick in the book to find Jennifer's kidnapper and bring them to justice. And we have, as Harry Crumb, of course, John Candy, Jeffrey Jones as Elliot Drazen, Annie Potts as Helen Downing, Tim Thomerson as Vince Barnes, Barry Corbin as PJ, Shawnee Smith as Nikki, SCTV alum Valerie Bromfeld as Detective Casey.
So good.
And some other, we've got, directed by Paul Flaherty. We have Joe Flaherty pops up for a cameo.
Yep.
As a
brother.
doorman.
Other SCTV alums.
NFL player and sometimes actor Lyle Alzado pops up in there. So okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna say Shawnee Smith is so good.
She's great.
And even though we've seen her in a lot of other movies, she appeared in an episode of Murder, She Wrote and was fantastic. And I was like, oh my God, it's Shawnee Smith. But Summer School, she's so good in. And but I'm glad that she has like a meaty role in this and is just like really fun to watch and plays really well off of John Candy's character, Harry Crumb. But Dan, you did not mention Jeffrey Jones.
I did.
You did? Okay. I
really
didn't hear
fast.
it. I know you didn't mention it on the last episode when we were
Nope.
teasing this one.
I didn't.
Well, okay. Let's talk real quickly about Jeffrey Jones, and then we don't have to talk about him again.
Yep.
We've talked about him plenty before because he is in most good movies for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
Amadeus, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Transylvania 65000. Like, he is in
Beetlejuice.
He's just in everything. He's in Beetlejuice. He's just in everything that's good for a really long time. And it turns out he's a bad dude. And, it's unfortunate that he's there.
He's a registered sex offender.
Registered sex offender. And it would be... Imagine how great it would be to see him in things if that fact weren't true.
Yeah.
Because he is so good in these roles. He's that perfect Weasley, you just love to hate him kind of guy.
And sometimes though, in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but in movies like
Stay
Beetlejuice,
Tuned.
you like, Stay Tuned. He's great in Stay Tuned.
Mom and Dad Save the
World.
Universe. Save the World. I can't remember if it's World or Universe.
Yeah, he's the hero in that.
He's the protagonist.
I can't see him without thinking like, all right, while he's making those movies, it's like, Yeah.
All right. We've talked about Jeffrey Jones. From here on in, we'll refer to him as Elliot Drazen. One of the things that I love about this movie is that it's giving you, the audience, all of the information. It's not giving you, and like, it starts off in a very mysterious way where you witness the kidnapping and it's very interesting. It's this woman at this very fancy looking spa and she's getting this like mud treatment and everything. And you're just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It starts off and you're thinking like, okay, we're going to have to try to figure out who did this. They tell you very quickly who did this.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that because it lets you in and it lets you kind of like think to Harry Crumb, like, no, you idiot.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing, is because you see it every step of the game. You see Drazen responding because Crumb is telling him everything, of course.
Yeah.
So Drazen is, following along. And so it's like, that's what this movie's not about, solving. Like, some mysteries are about solving the mystery along with the detective, and you're watching it and you're like, oh, you're trying to figure it out. You're guessing.
Well, that's like Knives Out.
Yeah.
A modern day private investigator story.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, with this, it's more about like watching Harry Crumb fumble along the way, and you're really pulling for him every time he has a win or a success. And you're really, he's gonna, it's a John Candy movie. he's going to solve the mystery. This is not an art film where they're going to pull the rug out from under us. Like this is not Chinatown. So
Right.
we're not going there. So like, yeah, so you're just kind of like, you're watching it more for just like, all right, what type of gag is this going to set up? What is this going to set up? We've got a great 80s comedy car chase in there.
Totally. Yeah. They cut the brakes. We love it. We love a good cutting the brakes moment.
The brakes are cut, but their car is right behind Annie Potts and Tim Thomerson, who I love Tim Thomerson from The Wrong Guys, a sentimental favorite.
Oh, he's so good in The Wrong Guys. And very different character from this one.
Oh, yeah.
And that one, very competent and cocky. And in this one, he's just an idiot. And I love that this movie is just a bunch of idiots. Like, everybody's an idiot.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, well, except for Nikki.
Nikki's, right. Nikki is not an idiot. Father is not an idiot. He's,
he's
just there.
Well, he's distraught. And he's
distraught.
He doesn't know who to trust, he's kind of at like almost a non-issue. It's really Nikki who is the star, and she's the one who has like, the great ideas, and she's like, hey, I'm going to come along. I'm going to help out. I'm going to do this. Their relationship, their dynamic is really fun. Mentor, mentee.
Yeah. I also really like that there isn't a romantic angle.
Right.
Right. If there were, it wouldn't feel that comfortable. It's done really well. In fact, the only like romantic angles that there are to this are, bad people being deceptive. So Annie Potts and Tim Thomerson, their relationship, and then Jeffrey Jones vying after Annie Potts and Elliot Drazen and Annie Potts. So, it's people who are bad people, and they don't end up getting what they want at the end. Like, they're the ones that are involved in any kind of romance.
Right. Yeah. Because this movie is aimed at 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
And so like, you get to see some like, PG-13 skin kind of. Yeah. I mean, there's not like, this movie doesn't even like go for that really. There's a couple of moments like in the very opening when they show her undressing at the spa. There's
like a silhouette.
Yeah. So there's really not even anything of that. So something else that I enjoyed about this movie, and it brought to mind certain other movies of this genre and starring kind of like from that group of comedic actors, and that would be the portrait of the ancestor that or the relative that looks exactly like the actor. And I was thinking about him and like Chevy Chase, and I'm like, did they have a competition? Is there a gallery? I want to see these I would love to see just a display like Movie Madness. Like, can we get some of these portraits from like Nothing But Trouble, Who's Harry Crumb, Caddyshack or Caddyshack 2, where it's like all the Ty Webb.
Probably Caddyshack 2.
Caddyshack 2, I think. Yeah. So, these are like, shoot, if I ever had the wall space, except I don't think I would want, I don't know that I want like Chevy Chase on my wall, but like, there's gotta be like Dan Aykroyd ones. There's gotta be.
Yeah. Somebody else that I really appreciate, and I'm trying to find his name. I had it up at one point. Oh, wait a second. Is it Wesley Mann? Who's the like butler guy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yes. Wesley Mann.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So he's plays funny. Tim, who's like PJ Downing's butler, whatever, houseman, valet, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's got such a great face, and like every moment he's on screen is so funny just by him like looking the way that he looks.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to go that hard just for this guy to be looking silly and bored.
No, he's he's very recognizable. Yeah, he was in Back to the Future Part 2. Okay, I remember him from that. And, L.A. Story. He's in L.A. Story. I haven't seen that in a long time. But yeah, no, he's a lot of fun. He has some fun bits. He's a very like classic, very like feels like he's in a theatrical farce.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And
kind of like a Bill Irwin.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a vibe.
Totally.
In a lot of ways.
Totally. I mean, Bill Irwin's like the GOAT, but
yeah.
You know who else though is goated is Annie Potts.
Annie Potts is great, and like she's, really hot in this, and it's playing against type for a lot of her roles. Ghostbusters being an obvious pull.
Yeah. I mean, not really close to her designing women role, but like definitely closer to that than her role in Ghostbusters. But, she really is a driving force in this movie, and her energy really carries through because she's playing Drazen, and she's playing,
so she's with PJ Downing.
Yeah.
PJ Downing?
She's married to PJ.
So, for his money. And so when there's this $10 million ransom, she's wigging out because if he pays that ransom, that's going to wipe out a lot of the money that she would get from him in like a divorce settlement, basically. So like, he's no good to her if he doesn't have all that money. Right. So, it's just so complicated, but in such a basic way. It's kind of nice. It's very easy to follow this plot, even though there are layers to it. All right, Dan, can I go over the scenes that I wrote down? All the scenes that made me like laugh out loud.
Okay.
Would you like me to go through those?
Go for it.
Okay. So after Harry Crumb is told that he's going to be going out to, is it Beverly Hills? So he's going into Beverly Hills from Oklahoma, and there's like a montage. There's no spoken dialogue, but there's a scene where he's buying a car at a used car lot, and they're showing him this like red convertible, and he's like, no, and this is no dialogue. This is just over music. So he's like, no, and then there's like this like bright like lime green convertible that he wants, and he's like, you just see him like trying to get this one green convertible, and so then you see him driving it out of the lot, and as he's driving out of the lot, gets into a car accident, and then you just see him driving the red convertible. It is like there's no point to the scene other than the fact that it's just like a very funny visual bit, and it's not like it's that funny, but just the way that he's so determined to get this green car. So that one's good. There's a scene where he's outside in the front yard, and there's like a sprinkler that comes up and makes it look like he wets his pants. Yeah. That worked on me. That really worked on me. It was so funny. After they show him the ransom note, which of course is the classic, cutouts from magazines and stuff. Yeah. And he goes, you find that crazy typewriter and you'll find your kidnappers. I thought that was so funny.
That was from the trailer. That was definitely in the trailer.
Well, it's so funny. You find that crazy typewriter, and you'll find your kidnappers. It's so good. I love the ceiling fan bit.
My God, the ceiling fan bit. I mean, that might be wow.
So he and Nikki are up on a rooftop spying, and he, of course, slides down the roof and then ends up going through a skylight, and then you see him stuck in this like very fancy looking restaurant, a ceiling fan, and some kid, of course, finds the controls that makes it go super fast. Classic bit. It's perfect. I wrote down any moment with Tim. So yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. That's there. And then towards the end, the jockey phone booths. That really got me. They're at a horse race, and there's a row of phone booths, and there's like 3 regular size ones, and there's like 4 jockey phone booths that are just shorter. It got me really good. Because it's like, that's the one thing like all of the other things, yeah, they probably wouldn't. Okay, the sprinkler and all that kind of stuff, like the ceiling fan thing, that would never really happen.
Oh,
but like,
no.
this is the one thing that takes it out of the real world. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
It's very cartoon. It's very much cartoony and very silly.
Yeah, it's just one of those movies where it's like there's really no stakes when you're watching it because you know everything's going to turn out fine.
Yep.
You know that nobody's going to be in any real danger.
Nope.
It's just a fun ride, and you get to watch John Candy be silly. And also, like, the thing about private investigator movies, especially, you know, comedy ones like this, is you know that you're going to be getting a lot of disguises.
Yeah.
And even though he wasn't a private investigator, he was an investigative journalist, you know, Fletch, you know, was really, you know, big on that. And so this is kind of doing the Fletch thing.
That's one of my
you know,
my notes is I was like, this is John Candy's Fletch.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, they do all the different disguises. If you are watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, soon to be Apple Podcasts, I think is going to have video. But on the bottom, you'll see there's a bunch of different looks, or right behind me.
Yeah.
If you're watching my video, there's a bunch of those. And that's where we get into a problematic territory.
Indeed,
where
we do.
There's some racial insensitivity and some brown face that happens. We have talked plenty about movies that feature brown face, and we, of course, do not condone it.
Nope. And of course, it also these disguises also bring up, you know, some uncomfortable. I don't know if they qualify as slurs, but just kind of like, you know, stereotype nicknames and like not microaggressions because they're not micro, but you know, we hear Tonto and Sabu, things like that. So. That wasn't fun to watch.
No. Didn't love that. Didn't love that at all.
Oh, you know what? You know what I did? The scene that I did enjoy. So when he goes in, you know, maybe is one of his less offensive disguises to the spa.
I know what you're gonna say. Yes. Go
well,
on.
just like the tic-tac-toe when they're the woman.
The tic-tac-toe is good. That's completely inoffensive. They do tic-tac-toe. So a woman is covered in the mud, and they do tic-tac-toe on the mud on the person's body. John Candy and the person working at the spa.
Yeah, and of course, when he has like a chest hair, you know, fill, and
right.
There's a.
So this is when he's the bald character that wears a lot of jewelry.
He's supposed to be Hungarian, so it's kind of like the first step on the scale. He just got, you know, it's the first step towards you know, in that direction. So it's problematic, but there's definitely some fun bits in that as he and the attendant playing tic-tac-toe on, and I'm just like, and this person is just not. Are they just asleep? They're not noticing that there's some dude in the room.
So his chest wig, he sees, falls off. And lands on the person who's covered in mud, lands on their crotch.
Oh, well, yes.
And so there's that. Very, very funny. And then he puts it back up, and then he puts it on his face as a beard.
Right. Oh, and,
it's that's funny. That I didn't mind that. That was fun.
Yeah.
It's the air conditioning repair person in know, when he's in brown face. That did not need to happen that way at all. And I want to say that, did he even have like a van with like the air conditioning company name on it or something?
I think
it's like he would have had to have bought a van and gotten the like decal to put on it. Like, that's a lot just for, you know, he could have gone in there as a white guy who looked like John Candy. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, it's not like they know him.
No.
Like,
no, this is Joe Flaherty we're talking about.
You're Harry Crumb.
Yeah.
Who's Harry Crumb?
And you know what? If it was John Candy in that scene where he's, you know, going through the vents of this apartment building, it would have worked just fine.
Yeah.
And it would have made the scene even funnier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that the only thing is that he's wearing a wig, and because of the air conditioner going on, like, or the exhaust fan, it makes it look really funny.
Oh.
But like, he could have done that, or just worn a different wig and been a white guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't have to. But, this is also in the age of, it's the most, publicized, form of it, Apu in The Simpsons.
Yes.
So, that's The Simpsons premiered. The Simpsons Christmas special was December '89. So we're not even at The Simpsons yet. We're not even really fully at. The Simpsons are existing on the Tracy Ullman show at this point, but
yeah, and also with Apu, and of course there's plenty of discourse about this.
Yeah.
Voiced by Hank Azaria at the time.
Yeah.
And of course shouldn't have been, and
he's spoken about that. Yeah.
He's spoken about it. But and of course, working at the Quickie Mart, that being the stereotype. But the character of Apu was at least always just like a good dude. And there was nothing that was like a super negative stereotype, aside from just like existing and being voiced by a white actor.
Right.
Just from my memory of like what the character does on the show.
Well, and I can add in, and I wish I could think right now of who it was that either wrote this or I saw this in an interview because, something, where they were talking about the representation, and it was that he was the only
that's true
Indian character, and that was the only representation, that there were
his family.
And there were a number of
I think there's a documentary called The Trouble with Apu.
Right. That's who I'm trying to think of, is the person who did that, because that's what I'm referencing. So I'm sorry for not being more specific about that, but that's right. That's kind of where they say, like, it's like, yes, he's a good guy, he's a responsible person, but there's also these stereotypes and that it's not representation because he's the token.
True.
So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it's like, you'd have kids like me who'd watch it and just think, oh, that's funny. I can do that voice. I'm going to go imitate it for my friends and make them laugh.
Yeah.
Like, not uncommon. Not uncommon.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was Apu, and it wasn't John Candy and Who's Harry Crumb that
probably both
influenced. Yeah.
Probably both.
Yeah.
Like you said, we watched Who's Harry Crumb a lot.
Yeah, and luckily these days, we know better.
Yeah.
Making TV shows and movies, and should anything like that happen, there will be hell to pay.
Yeah. Could we have known? Could we have known better? Should we have known better? Absolutely. And we didn't. We can't change that, but we know better now. So
yeah.
And we can say we should have known better. We can say that instead of saying, oh, it was a different time. We can say, we should have done better. We didn't. We're going to do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how are we going to do better? What are we going to do with this?
You're actually there's one other thing.
Go ahead.
Well, there's I
thought it was a good segue.
It's a very good segue, and I appreciate that.
I'll back it up.
The one other thing I was going to mention is that like I started to do my own research before looking at like IMDb trivia, because I don't really take IMDb trivia seriously because there's so much of it that's just like flat out wrong. Yeah. But there's this scene where Harry Crumb towards the beginning has goes to is like in the office, and there's the aquarium, and he gets the fish on his finger and it flings across. And I was just like, wait, when did the Naked Gun come out?
Yeah.
And it was 2 months before this.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was going down all sorts of not rabbit holes, because clearly that's easy to figure out, but like it was right there in the trivia. But yeah, it's the same bit that's in Naked Gun.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Naked Gun does it better.
Yep.
I think that what makes it better is the fish. I think the exact kind of fish,
Well-
and also the Leslie Nielsen of it all. I think
Oh,
helps.
I would if I can pile on to what makes it better in The Naked Gun.
Sure.
Is also the pen, the gift to Ricardo Montalban's character.
Ricardo Montalban's character, yeah.
Ricardo Montalban in that scene, his monologue, whatever he's going off on, and like all of that. Oh, it makes it so much better in Naked Gun.
It's just so interesting though that the same bit would happen in movies that were being made at the exact same time, and I just have to wonder, how that would have come up for these people, because that's not a obvious joke to make. Bit to do.
No.
Anyway.
And I mean, I don't think there's like no crossover between these movies in terms of like who worked on them or studio or
To our
anything like
knowledge,
that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, nothing I could. Oh, and you know what? You mentioned the IMDb trivia, so I was like, let me take a look.
Yeah.
So one thing that I see here on the IMDb trivia that if only this was true, or if only this could have worked out, is that John Larroquette was John Candy's first choice for Elliot Drazen.
Oh, okay.
And is there any reason why we should feel uncomfortable talking about John Larroquette?
Not to my knowledge.
I hope not.
Yeah, I do think that at the time, Jeffrey Jones is a better choice.
Oh,
just, the way that he plays it is just so perfect. It just sucks that he's a bad dude.
He also wasn't like John Larroquette was a quote unquote TV actor, and even though he had done a couple of films, there was still that kind of like stigma.
Yeah, I was never a huge John Larroquette fan, but I couldn't tell you why.
I really like Night Court.
Night Court's great.
I mean, there's really not much I could say about John Larroquette. Like, I know he's in other things, but Night Court, really, I like him. He's kind of like good as like kind of a smarmy guy. He's good at smarmy. He's
very good at smarmy. Yeah. So, okay, Dan, you asked me before, and I so rudely mentioned the aquarium bit, and I apologize.
No,
but we're talking about bring this movie back. So one of the things, yes, on this podcast, what we do is we talk about these cult and classic movies, and we imagine new ways that they could be brought back by extending their legacy in one form or another. And something I've talked about a bit on the podcast is that I have a small but growing movie novelization collection, and goddamn it, Dan, there is no Who's Harry Crumb novelization, and I want one on my bookshelf. That is what I want to be done with this movie.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. All right.
I want to have a mass market paperback with yellowed pages with John Candy suction cup to the cover.
Now, do you want an insert in the middle with color photos from the film?
I want one page of color photos and the rest black and white.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see how we're going. See, yeah. You want a 300
but also,
all right.
Yeah, but also what I would also like is akin to the Garfield suction cup car thing. I want a Harry Crumb.
Yes.
Which would be a much easier thing to do. You could just print one out and make that happen.
That would be a lot of fun. I really like that.
Yeah. And Dan, you mentioned Movie Madness before, the video rental store here in Portland. And I know at one point I sent you a picture. Behind the counter they have the Who's Harry Crumb poster.
And then I got to see it in person.
Oh, you saw it. Yeah. So
no.
It's just,
brilliant.
It's a great poster. It's a really great poster.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Dan,
what would you do?
Oh, well, and you know what? My idea is somewhat adjacent to it. I was thinking about, thinking about the dynamic between Nikki and Harry Crumb and seeing like, did she get the bug to become a private investigator? Do they work together? Like, do they continue on cases? So I was thinking like comic books, like a comic book series would be a really fun way to like continue the story from where it left off. I think and comic books just seem to, work because for this type of character, it's not like he's going to stop being kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because
yeah.
What's interesting, the week that we're recording this, there was these kind of entertainment news stories coming out about Val Kilmer's likeness being used in an AI generated new movie, and it makes me sick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
And to represent an actor after they have died in that way, whether they give their blessing for it or not, it's never going to sit well with me.
No.
If you're continuing a character's legacy who is so very much connected with the actor who played it, such as John Candy and Harry Crumb, as a like cartoony comic, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That sits much better with me. And I feel like that is the kind of thing that John Candy would enjoy.
Yeah.
To be, to have that story continue on.
And to be and have it be, a comic, a series of comic books.
Yeah.
No, not graphic novels, comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go pay 25 cents for the new Harry Crumb. Crumb and Crumb.
Jeez, can you get one for 25 cents anymore?
No, of course not. Of course not. No, but that's what you want to pay for. That's what I'm imagining. That's what I'm picturing.
So that's fair.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. I think it would be cool. I think that would be kind of like the best thing to do with it in terms of any type of, expansion on the story. And much of that due to the fact that it John Candy is part of this, and without John Candy, I don't think you should have it, but we can have John Candy in animated form. It'll be like when he was on his animated series Camp Candy.
Wow, I forgot about that.
Oh, yes. You forgot.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, was that 1990, I think? I don't know.
See, you were talking earlier about, accessing memories and things like that. And it's just like,
well, I was looking at his filmography earlier.
Camp
Candy.
Yeah.
No, I sorry. I should not have given the impression that like I all of a sudden dug that.
Was that around the same time as like Rover Dangerfield?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Maybe the same animation studio doing both of them.
No. Oh, actually, wait, hold on. Maybe you might be right. You might be right. Let's see. We're gonna.
They were really just doing they were doing animated series. Like I also imagine like the Alf animated series could have been
Alf animated series. Bobby's World, kinda.
Bobby's World.
Bobby's World was great. It was.
I love Bobby's World.
Camp Candy was 92, and I think Rover Dangerfield was 91.
Okay, I'm looking up Rover Dangerfield, 1991 animated series. Oh my God, just seeing it. What I'm curious about is the production company, so Hyperion Animation. So let's see if they had anything to do with
where can I see
Camp Candy.
Where can I see the production company on Camp Candy here?
Okay, I'm looking at Wikipedia for Camp Candy, and on the right we have, let's see, producers. Oh, Scott Shaw with an exclamation mark. Oh, that was Saban Entertainment. Okay.
Oh,
And Deke.
Valerie Bromfeld.
So Deke did seasons 1 and 2, and then Saban. So nope, not the same production company. But still, nonetheless, around at the same time.
Yep.
They were just pumping out animated series for whatever.
That was it. That was what I'm surprised Dice didn't get one. Hey.
Or did he?
I don't,
I'm kind of picturing an Andrew Dice Clay animation.
Ralph Bakshi would have done it.
Yeah, maybe not.
No. There was no animated Andrew Dice Clay. No.
Well, I can picture them trying to do some sort of like hey, this guy's got this like juice. Let's see if we can translate it for like a kid crowd kind of thing, because it's still like a pretty wacky character.
Yeah, I mean, Ford Fairlane was a comic book, but that was before he was.
Yeah, that's true.
Ford Fairlane.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Dan, we're doing this series of episodes, this 4th season of the show. It's all movies that have complete sentences as titles, such as Who's Harry Crumb? Why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be doing in our next episode?
I'll tell everyone what we're doing on an episode, and perhaps on the next episode, and perhaps why. Yes. Yeah. It's worth mentioning. We are recording this on March 20th, 2026. And today we did hear the news that Chuck Norris passed away. So we are going to talk about Good Guys Wear Black from 1978, directed by Ted Post, starring the late Chuck Norris, Ann Archer, Dana Andrews, Jim Backus, and a lot of kicking.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I've never seen this one. It fits so well into our season.
Yeah.
And, Chuck Norris we've talked about before, Lone Wolf McQuade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if we've done any other Chuck Norris movies.
Not that I can recall.
But it's he's had a few movies in there where they're actually good, and I've got high hopes for this one. It's that late 70s Chuck Norris where, before he's become like the Chuck Norris, like the Delta Force Chuck Norris.
Right. Yeah. The Chuck Norris of memes.
Right. The directed by Aaron Norris, Chuck Norris.
Absolutely. I'm sure Aaron was somewhere involved with this, but it'll be fun to check that out.
Yeah. I think that Aaron Norris is in it. I don't think that he directed it, though.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
This is where he learned.
Well, Dan, as you are driving to Beverly Hills in your green convertible, no, your red convertible, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.